She stole everything!" my brother shouted, his face purple with rage, spit flying from his mouth as he pointed at me with a trembling finger. "This house, Mom's jewelry, the savings accounts, everything. She manipulated Mom while she was dying." I stood in the doorway of what had been my mother's living room in Cleveland, Ohio, the afternoon sun streaming through the curtains she'd sewn by hand 40 years ago. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just smiled. That smile, I watched it break something inside him. His wife Karen gasped behind him, her perfectly manicured hand flying to her chest like she was in some bad soap opera. My nephew Brandon stood frozen by the fireplace, his eyes darting between his father and me, confusion and fear mixing on his young face. "David," I said quietly, my voice steady as stone. "The house has been in my name for 7 years. The silence that followed was delicious. It tasted like justice, aged and perfected, served cold on a silver platter. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantel, the same clock that had counted down the hours of my childhood, my adolescence, my entire life spent in this house, while David was out living his best life in California, calling once a month if I was lucky. "That's impossible," Karen hissed, stepping forward. She was wearing a cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost more than I made in 2 months at the nursing home. "We checked the records. This house belonged to Eleanor Mitchell, your mother." "My mother," I corrected, emphasis on the possessive. "And yes, it did belong to her. Until 2016, when she put it in my name. Legally, notarized, filed with the county. Would you like to see the paperwork?" I pulled the manila folder from my bag. I'd been carrying it for 3 days, ever since I got the call that David was flying in from San Diego with his lawyer. Inside were copies of every document: the quitclaim deed, the transfer of title, Mom's handwritten letter explaining her decision, witnessed by her attorney and her best friend Martha. David's face went from purple to white. You tricked her. She was on medication. She wasn't in her right mind." And there it was, the accusation I'd been expecting, the narrative he'd been constructing in his head, probably for years, about how his little sister was some kind of master manipulator who'd swooped in and stolen his inheritance while he was busy building his tech company and living in his 4-bedroom house with an ocean view. "Mom was sharp as a tack until the day she died," I said, my voice harder now. "Sharper than you ever gave her credit for, and she knew exactly what she was doing." I watched David's hands curl into fists. I'd seen that gesture before, when we were kids and I'd beaten him at checkers, when I'd gotten better grades, when Dad had praised my piano recital. David had never been good at losing. The difference was, this time, I wasn't going to apologize for winning. "Get out," he said, his voice shaking. "This isn't over. We're contesting this. No way you get everything while I get nothing." "Actually," I said, opening the folder and pulling out another document, "you got exactly what Mom wanted you to have. There's a check waiting for you at Thompson & Associates. $50,000 from her life insurance policy. She was very specific about that, too." Karen's eyes lit up. 50,000 was probably pocket change to them, but it was something. David, though, looked like I'd slapped him. 50,000? This house alone is worth $500,000. "I know," I said simply. "I had it appraised last month." What I didn't say, what I wouldn't say not yet, was that I'd earned every brick of this house, every window, every floorboard, every memory embedded in these walls. I'd earned it with 7 years of daily visits, of holding Mom's hand through chemo, of sleeping on the couch downstairs when she was too weak to call for help, of bathing her and feeding her and reading to her and sitting with her through the long, dark nights when she was afraid and in pain and asking for David, always asking for David, who was too busy to come home more than twice a year. I'd earned it with 20 years before that too, staying close, staying present, helping with groceries and yard work and bills, while David sent birthday cards from exotic locations and called on Christmas if he remembered. But I didn't need to explain that to him. The papers in my hand did all the talking I needed. "You have until 5 p.m. to remove your personal belongings from the guest room," I said, checking my watch. A simple Timex, not like Karen's Cartier. "After that, I'm changing the locks." "You can't do this." David stepped toward me, and for a moment, I thought he might actually try to physically intimidate me. His 6-foot frame towered over my 5'4", just like when we were kids, and he'd block me from the TV or push me out of line for the bathroom. But I wasn't that little girl anymore. I already did it, I said, meeting his eyes without blinking. 7 years ago, David. Where were you 7 years ago? He stopped. He knew. I could see it in his face. The flicker of memory, of guilt. 7 years ago was when Mom got her diagnosis. Stage 4. 6 months to live, they said, though she fought for 3 years. I'd called him that day, left 6 voicemails, finally reached him at some tech conference in Austin. I'll come home next month, he'd said. Things are crazy right now. He came home 5 months later, stayed for a weekend, and left again. This is elder abuse, Karen said, her voice shrill now. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. We can have this overturned. We have lawyers. Good lawyers. So did Mom, I replied. Michael Thompson, Thompson & Associates, one of the best estate attorneys in Cuyahoga County. He's expecting your call. He has copies of everything, including the psychiatric evaluation Mom requested, dated 2 weeks after the transfer, confirming her complete mental competency. She thought of everything, because that's who Eleanor Mitchell was. A woman who thought of everything, who planned for every contingency, who loved her son but knew him well enough to know he'd do exactly this. My name is Margaret Ann Mitchell, and I'm 47 years old. I've lived in Cleveland, Ohio, all my life, in this same house on Maple Street, in this same working-class neighborhood where everyone knows everyone, and your reputation is worth more than money. I'm a nurse, not a registered nurse with the fancy degree, but an LPN, licensed practical nurse, which means I do all the hard work for 2/3 of the pay. I work at Greenwood Senior Living, the nursing home 3 miles from here, mostly night shifts because they pay an extra $1.50 an hour and I need every penny. I'm not married, never have been. I came close once, back in 2003, to a man named Robert Carlson who worked at the steel mill. But Robert wanted to move to Pittsburgh for a better job, and I couldn't leave Mom. So Robert left without me, sent me a Christmas card the first year, and then I never heard from him again. I don't have children. I don't have a career, not really. I don't have a retirement fund worth mentioning, or a passport with stamps from exotic places. I've never been to Europe or Asia, or even to California to visit my brother, though he invited me twice, once for his wedding, and once for Brandon's high school graduation. Both times I couldn't afford the plane ticket, and both times David said he understood, but I could hear the disappointment in his voice, the judgment. What I do have is this house, and the knowledge that I was here. I was here when Dad had his heart attack in 1998, collapsing in the driveway with the garden hose still in his hand. I was 20 years old, home from community college for the summer. I called 911, rode in the ambulance, held his hand while the paramedics worked on him. David was in graduate school at Stanford. He came home for the funeral, stayed 3 days, and left again. Mom and I cleaned out the garage together, packed up Dad's tools, donated his clothes to Goodwill. I was here when Mom slipped on ice in 2009 and broke her hip. I took a leave of absence from work, unpaid because I didn't have enough vacation time, and stayed with her for 6 weeks, helping her to the bathroom, doing her physical therapy exercises, cooking her meals. David sent flowers and called twice a week. "You're so good with her," he'd say. "She's lucky to have you." Lucky. As if luck had anything to do with it. As if I'd won some cosmic lottery instead of making a choice, day after day, year after year, to stay. I was here when Mom started forgetting things in 2013. Little things at first. Where she'd put her keys, what day it was, whether she'd taken her medication. I started coming over every morning before work, checking on her, making sure she ate breakfast, organizing her pills into those day-of-the-week containers. David suggested we look into assisted living. It would be easier on you, he said, which really meant easier on him, easier on his conscience. But Mom didn't want to leave her house. This was where she'd raised her children, where she'd loved and buried her husband, where every corner held a memory. "I want to die in my own bed," she told me one night, and I promised her she would. I kept that promise. I was here on May 3rd, 2016, when Dr. Patel sat us down in her office and said the word: cancer, pancreatic, advanced, inoperable, 6 months, maybe a year with chemo. Mom held my hand so tight I lost feeling in my fingers. "I need to talk to Margaret alone," she told the doctor. In that sterile examination room, with the fluorescent lights humming overhead and the smell of antiseptic making my stomach turn, Mom looked at me with clear, determined eyes. "I want you to have the house," she said. I started to protest. It wasn't necessary. David would be furious. We could sort it out later. But she cut me off. "Listen to me. I'm not doing this because I'm dying. I'm doing this because I'm finally thinking clearly. You've been here, Maggie. You've been here every single day of your adult life. You gave up college, gave up Robert, gave up everything to take care of this family. This house is yours. It's been yours for years. We're just making it official." We did it the next week. Mom called Michael Thompson, the same attorney who'd handled her will. We went to his office downtown, a place with mahogany furniture and law books lining the walls. He explained everything carefully: the quitclaim deed, the transfer of title, the tax implications, the way to protect the house from Medicaid estate recovery if Mom needed nursing home care. "Are you sure about this, Mrs. Mitchell?" he asked, his reading glasses perched on his nose. "Have you discussed this with your son?" "My son lives in California and calls once a month if I'm lucky," Mom said, her voice firm despite the yellow tinge creeping into her skin from the cancer eating her alive. "My daughter is here. She's always been here. The house goes to her." We signed the papers. Mom's signature was still strong and sure. No tremor, no hesitation. Michael had us come back 2 weeks later with Dr. Morrison, a psychiatrist, who interviewed Mom for an hour and certified in writing that she was of sound mind, under no undue influence, and fully understood the consequences of her decision. "Why the psychiatric evaluation?" I asked Michael afterward. "Because your mother is smart," he said, glancing at Mom with respect. "She knows her son will contest this. This way there's no question. Mom was always 3 steps ahead of everyone. I was here through the chemo, the nausea, the hair loss, the exhaustion so profound she couldn't lift her head from the pillow. I was here through the hospitalizations, the infections, the times she looked at me and didn't know who I was, confused from fever and medication. I was here through the hospice, through the final weeks when she stopped eating, stopped talking, just breathed and breathed until finally, on a Tuesday morning in April 2019, she didn't. David came for the funeral. He stayed for 3 days. He cried. I'll give him that. He stood at the graveside and cried real tears. Then he got in his rental car and drove back to the airport and went home to his life in San Diego. And I went back to this house, alone, and started going through Mom's things. David called 2 weeks after the funeral. I was in the kitchen, going through Mom's recipe cards, her handwriting on index cards yellowed with age, stains from decades of cooking marking her favorites: chicken soup, apple pie, the pot roast she made every Sunday. "Hey, Maggie," he said, his voice artificially bright. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay," I said, though I wasn't. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night since Mom died. The house felt too empty, too quiet. I kept expecting to hear her call my name, to need her medication, to need help to the bathroom. That's good. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about Mom's estate. There it was. Not, "How's the grief?" Not, "Do you need anything?" Not, "I'm sorry I left you alone to deal with all of this." Straight to the money. "Michael Thompson is handling everything," I said. "He'll be in touch with both of us." "Right, but I was thinking, we should probably sell the house sooner rather than later. The market's good right now and neither of us really needs it, you know? Neither of us. As if we were equal partners in this decision. As if I hadn't been living here, paying half the utilities, mowing the lawn, shoveling snow from the driveway. Actually, David, the house is mine." Silence on the other end. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. "What do you mean yours?" "Mom transferred the title to me in 2016. The house is in my name." More silence. Then, "You're joking." "I'm not joking. We can discuss it more when you have time, but we're going to discuss it right now." His voice had changed, gone hard and cold. "You're telling me Mom gave you the house? The entire house? And when exactly were you planning to mention this?" "I just did mention it. Don't be cute, Margaret. This is serious. That house is worth $500,000. That's family money. That's my inheritance too. Mom made her decision. It was her house to do with as she wanted. Her decision." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Right. Her decision. While she was dying, while she was on medications that probably made her confused, while you were the only person around to influence her. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. I felt it settle on my skin, in my lungs, making it hard to breathe. I didn't influence her, David. She wanted to do it. I'm sure she did. I'm sure you were very helpful in explaining why she should give her daughter everything and her son nothing. You're getting $50,000 from her life insurance. $50,000? Are you serious? That's it. I helped pay for her medications, for her treatments. You sent 3 checks, I interrupted. $3,000 total over 3 years. I can show you the records. I paid for everything else. Her medications, her hospital bills, her funeral, everything. Because you lived there. You had free rent. Free rent. As if living with your dying mother, watching her deteriorate day by day, cleaning up after her, feeding her, bathing her, listening to her cry in pain in the middle of the night, as if that was some kind of privilege. I'm not arguing with you about this, I said. The house is legally mine. If you want to contest it, talk to Michael Thompson. Oh, I will. Trust me, I will. This isn't over, Maggie. He hung up. I stood in the kitchen, holding the phone, Mom's recipe card for apple pie still in my other hand. My hands were shaking. That was the first conversation. Over the next 6 months, there were more. Phone calls where David's voice got progressively angrier, more accusatory. Emails with legal language copied and pasted from Google searches. Text messages at 2 a.m., his 11 p.m., calling me greedy, manipulative, selfish. Karen got involved. She started sending me articles about elder abuse, about financial exploitation, about family members who manipulated sick relatives for their own gain. She found online support groups for people who'd been cheated out of their inheritance and shared screenshots of their stories, with passive-aggressive comments about how some people have no shame. Brandon, caught in the middle, stopped responding to my texts. I'd send him birthday money, $50, all I could afford, and get nothing back. No thank you, no acknowledgement. I saw on Facebook that he'd blocked me. Michael Thompson assured me it was all noise. The deed is solid, he said. The psychiatric evaluation is bulletproof. Your mother's intentions were crystal clear. Let them make noise. They can't touch you, but the noise hurt. It hurt to be called a thief by your own brother. It hurt to be accused of manipulating your mother, the woman you'd loved and cared for more than anyone in the world. It hurt to be painted as the villain in a story where you were just the person who stayed. I started doubting myself. Late at night, alone in the house, I'd wonder, did I influence her? Did I somehow, without meaning to, make her think she owed me the house? Should I offer to split it with David just to have my family back? But then I'd remember the reality. I'd remember the day I found Mom collapsed in the bathroom, barely conscious, and had to call an ambulance. I'd remember the nights I slept on the couch because I was too afraid to leave her alone. I'd remember the time David said he couldn't come for Christmas because flights were too expensive, while posting photos from a ski trip in Aspen on Facebook. I'd remember that I didn't take anything from David. Mom gave me something that was hers to give, and if that made me the villain in his story, then so be it. I just never expected him to show up at my door with a lawyer and accusations, and that look in his eyes, like I was a stranger, an enemy, someone who needed to be defeated. Let me tell you what sacrifice looks like. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies, with grand gestures and soaring music. The real kind. The everyday kind that erodes you slowly, until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. 1999. I was 21, in my second year at Cuyahoga Community College, studying to be a registered nurse. 3.7 GPA, top of my class in anatomy. I had a plan. Finish the 2-year program, transfer to Cleveland State for my BSN, maybe work at the Cleveland Clinic eventually. That was the dream. Then Dad died. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating. Mom fell apart. They'd been married 32 years. High school sweethearts, married at 19. Without him, she was lost. I took the semester off to help her. Just 1 semester, I told myself. Just until she got back on her feet. I got a job at Greenwood Senior Living as a nursing assistant. Minimum wage, brutal work, but it was near the house, and the schedule was flexible. Just temporary, I told my academic advisor. That temporary job turned into a year, then 2. I kept meaning to go back to school, but there was always something. Mom needed someone to go with her to therapy appointments. The furnace broke and needed replacing. The roof started leaking. Mom was on a fixed income, Dad's small pension and Social Security, and I was the only one who could help. David sent money sometimes, A check for $500 here, $1,000 there, always with a note. Hope this helps. Wish I could do more. But money wasn't what Mom needed. She needed someone there. Someone to have coffee with in the morning, someone to watch Jeopardy with at night, someone to call when she heard a strange noise and got scared. 2003. Robert Carlson asked me to marry him on a Tuesday in June, on a bench by Lake Erie, with the sun setting over the water. He had a ring, not expensive, but beautiful, a small diamond on a silver band. He'd saved for 6 months. Come to Pittsburgh with me, he said. We can start fresh. You can go back to school there. We'll have a life together. I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to say yes. I loved Robert, loved his laugh, his steady presence, the way he looked at me like I was the most important person in the world. But Mom was 65, still grieving, still fragile. I can't leave her alone, I told Robert. Come with me then, he said. We'll bring her with us. But Mom wouldn't leave Cleveland. This is my home, she said. Frank is buried here. My whole life is here. I asked Robert to wait, to stay, to find work in Cleveland instead. He tried. For 3 months he sent out resumes, went to interviews. But there was nothing in Cleveland for someone with his skills. Not like Pittsburgh, where the companies were still hiring, still growing. I can't wait forever, Maggie, he said finally. I love you, but I can't put my life on hold indefinitely. I watched him drive away in his pickup truck, boxes of his belongings packed in the back. I stood in the driveway until his taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside and made Mom dinner, and never mentioned Robert again. 2007. I was invited to be in my friend Sarah's wedding in Columbus. Sarah and I had been best friends since high school, the kind of friendship where you know each other's secrets. I was supposed to be her maid of honor, but the wedding was the same weekend as Mom's 70th birthday party. Not a surprise. Mom knew about it, had been looking forward to it for months. All her friends from church, her card club, her neighbors. Come after the party, Sarah suggested. Come Sunday. You'll miss the rehearsal dinner, but you'll be there for the wedding. I tried to make it work, but Mom got anxious about the party, worried something would go wrong if I wasn't there. What if the cake is wrong? What if people don't come? What if I get overwhelmed? I called Sarah and canceled. I'm so sorry, I said, crying. I just can't. This is my wedding, Maggie. I need you here. I know. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you, I promise. But I never did. Sarah stopped calling after that. I saw on Facebook that she moved to Denver with her husband. We're not friends anymore. Not enemies. Just nothing. Another casualty of my choices. 2010-2015. 5 years that blurred together. Working night shifts at Greenwood. Sleeping during the day. Spending every spare moment with Mom. Watching her age. Watching her slow down. Watching her world get smaller. She stopped driving after a minor accident in 2012. Nothing serious, just bumped another car in a parking lot, but it scared her enough to give up her keys. So I became her driver. Grocery shopping, doctor appointments, church on Sundays, card club on Wednesdays. My own life shrank too. I stopped going out with coworkers, stopped trying to date. Who wanted to date a 40-something woman who lived with her mother and worked night shifts? Stopped having hobbies or interests beyond what fit in the cracks between work and caregiving. David visited twice a year, sometimes 3 times if we were lucky. He'd blow in for a weekend, full of energy and stories about his life, his company going public, his house renovations, Brandon's soccer tournaments. He'd take Mom out to dinner at nice restaurants, bring her expensive gifts she didn't need, make her laugh with funny stories. Your brother is so successful, Mom's friends would say. You must be so proud. And I was proud. I was. But I was also exhausted and resentful and wondering why success meant leaving while failure meant staying. One night, after one of David's visits, Mom said something that stuck with me. We were doing dishes together, her washing and me drying, like we'd done thousands of times. You know why I'm putting the house in your name? She said quietly. Mom, you don't have to, because you stayed. You gave up everything to stay. Robert, school, your friends. You gave it all up for me. I see it. I've always seen it. And I can't let you walk away from this with nothing. I have you, I said. That's not nothing. She looked at me then. Really looked at me. and I saw tears in her eyes. "You're a better person than I deserve, Margaret Ann Mitchell." "That's not true." "It is. And someday, when I'm gone and David tries to take this house from you, because he will try, I know my son, you remember this conversation. You remember that you earned this. Every single brick. The day David arrived at the house with his lawyer, the day he shouted those words, wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came 3 days later, at Mom's church. I'd continued going to St. Michael's Catholic Church every Sunday, sitting in the same pew where Mom and I had sat together for years. The congregation knew me, knew my story, had watched me care for Mom through her illness. They'd brought casseroles, sent cards, offered prayers. After she died, they'd been my support system, the closest thing I had to family. Father Patrick was leading the service when I saw David slip in the back. He was wearing a suit, unusual for St. Michael's, where most people dressed casually. Karen was with him, looking uncomfortable in a dress that was too formal, too expensive, too everything for our little neighborhood church. I felt a twist in my stomach. Why were they here? After the service during fellowship hour in the church basement, coffee and donuts, people chatting in small groups, David made his move. "Excuse me," he said, his voice carrying across the room. "If I could have everyone's attention for just a moment." The room quieted. Father Patrick looked surprised, but nodded for David to continue. "My name is David Mitchell. I'm Eleanor Mitchell's son. Some of you might remember me from her funeral." Murmurs of recognition. People nodded, smiled politely. "I wanted to come here today to address something that's been weighing on my heart. It's about my sister, Margaret." All eyes turned to me. I felt my face flush, my hands go cold. "I know many of you think highly of Margaret. She's been here. She's been present. She's been taking care of our mother. And I appreciate that. I really do. But I've recently learned some troubling information that I feel obligated to share with this community." "David," I started to stand, but my legs felt weak. "My sister convinced our mother, while she was dying and on powerful medications, to sign over her house, worth over $500,000, solely to her. She excluded me entirely from our mother's estate, manipulated a sick woman for financial gain, and is now refusing to even discuss splitting the assets fairly." Gasps. Actual gasps. I watched faces I'd known for years turn toward me with shock, confusion, suspicion. "That's not true!" My voice came out shrill, desperate. "David, that's not what happened." "I have documentation," he continued, pulling papers from his jacket. "Medical records showing the medications Mom was on when she signed the deed. Dates that prove she was undergoing chemotherapy, experiencing cognitive side effects. I've consulted with elder care attorneys who've told me this is textbook financial exploitation." "Father Patrick," I said, turning to the priest, pleading. "This isn't..." "He's not telling the whole story. The transfer happened years ago. Mom was fully competent. She had a psychiatric evaluation, arranged by Margaret," David interrupted. "Paid for by Margaret, with a doctor who was chosen by Margaret. How convenient." Karen stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Real or fake, I couldn't tell. "We're not trying to cause trouble. We just want what's fair. Eleanor was David's mother too. He loved her, and now he's been shut out completely. Martha Coleman, Mom's best friend, the woman who'd been at her bedside when she died, who'd witnessed the papers, who knew the truth, stood up from her chair. Now you listen here, David Mitchell. Mrs. Coleman, I understand you're close to my sister. That's natural. But I'm asking this community to look at the facts objectively. My mother died, and within weeks, Margaret had changed the locks on the house, our family home, and refused to let me have any of our mother's belongings. She's kept Mom's jewelry, her furniture, her photos, everything. She won't even let me have Dad's watch. That was a lie. Dad's watch was in a box in my closet, waiting for David to ask for it. But how could I say that now, in front of everyone, without sounding defensive? I came here today not to attack my sister, but to ask for your prayers, David continued, his voice breaking slightly. Pray for our family. Pray that we can find a way through this, and pray that the truth comes to light. He sat down. The room erupted in whispers. I felt 100 pairs of eyes on me, judging, wondering, doubting. Father Patrick approached me after, his face kind, but uncertain. Margaret, is there something we should talk about? It's all lies, I said, my voice shaking. He's lying. Mom wanted me to have the house. She did it legally, properly. I have the documents. I'm sure you do, he said gently. But perhaps this is something the family should resolve privately? I looked around the room. Mrs. Henderson from the choir was whispering to Mrs. Yang. Tom Breslin, who'd helped me shovel Mom's driveway for years, was talking to his wife, both of them glancing at me. Even Martha looked shaken, uncertain how to defend me against such public accusations. I grabbed my purse and left. Walked out of the church, down the steps to my car, Mom's old Honda that I'd inherited because David didn't need it. I drove home with tears blurring my vision, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. When I got home, I found a letter slipped under my door. It was from the neighborhood association. Someone, probably prompted by David, had complained that I was letting the property deteriorate. The grass was too long. The paint was chipping. There were concerns about property values. The grass was too long because I'd been working double shifts to pay off Mom's medical bills. The paint was chipping because I couldn't afford to repaint right now. But those were excuses, and excuses made me look guilty. That night, I got an email from my cousin Jennifer in Toledo. Jennifer, who I hadn't spoken to in 5 years, who'd never visited Mom when she was sick, who'd missed the funeral because she couldn't get off work. The email was short. Is it true what David is saying? That you took advantage of Aunt Eleanor? I always thought you were better than that. I didn't respond. What could I say? How could I defend myself against whispers, against implications, against a narrative that painted me as the villain? I sat in Mom's, my house, in the dark, listening to it creak and settle around me. This house that I'd loved my entire life suddenly felt like a prison. This house that was supposed to be my reward for sacrifice felt like proof of my greed. David was winning. Not legally. He'd never win legally. But socially, emotionally, in the court of public opinion, he was destroying me. And I realized this was his strategy. If he couldn't take the house through the courts, he'd make me give it up through shame. I didn't sleep that night after the church incident. I lay in bed, my childhood bed, in my childhood room, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word David had said, every face that had looked at me with doubt or disgust. Around 3 a.m., something shifted inside me. I sat up in the dark and said out loud to the empty room, "No, just that. No, no, I wasn't going to let him do this. No, I wasn't going to be ashamed. No, I wasn't going to give up this house that Mom wanted me to have. No, I wasn't going to let David rewrite history to make himself the victim and me the villain." I got out of bed and went to Mom's room. I'd barely touched it since she died, kept the door mostly closed, couldn't bear to clear out her things. But now I opened the door wide and turned on the light. Her room looked exactly as it had 6 months ago. The bed was made with the quilt her mother had sewn. Her reading glasses were still on the nightstand. Her Bible, worn soft from decades of use, sat on top of her dresser. Photos covered every surface. Me and David as kids, Dad in his army uniform, Mom's parents, grandchildren who rarely visited. I opened her closet. In the back, behind her Sunday dresses, was a filing box. I pulled it out and sat on her bed, opening it carefully. Inside were documents, letters, photos, organized chronologically. This was Mom's memory box, where she kept everything important. I started going through it. Birth certificates, mine and David's, Dad's death certificate, tax returns, medical bills, and letters. Letters from David, dating back years. I pulled them out and read them in order. December 1998, right after Dad's funeral. "Mom, I'm so sorry I can't stay longer. Work is crazy right now. I'll try to come home for Christmas. Can you send me Dad's war medals? I'd like to have them." March 2003. "Mom, I'm glad Margaret is there to help you. I know I should visit more, but you understand how it is. We're launching a new product, and I'm working 80-hour weeks. I'll make it up to you." July 2009. "Mom, I can't make it for your birthday this year. Things with Karen are complicated right now, and we need some time together. Maybe Thanksgiving? I'll send a check for $500 to help with whatever you need." November 2015. "Mom, about assisted living. I really think it's the best option. Margaret can't take care of you forever, and it's not fair to expect her to give up her life for you. There's a great facility in San Diego near us. You'd love it here. Let's talk about it." On and on. Years of letters that said the same thing in different ways. "I'm busy. I'll come later. I'll send money. Let someone else handle it." But there were other documents too. bank statements showing that the help David sent was sporadic and minimal compared to what was needed. Credit card statements showing that I'd put thousands of dollars on my cards to cover Mom's expenses. Receipts for medications, medical equipment, home modifications to make the house accessible. There was a journal. I'd never known Mom kept a journal. It was a simple spiral notebook, filled with her handwriting, shaky toward the end, but still legible. I opened it to a random page, dated August 2016, 2 months after the diagnosis. Margaret stayed up with me again last night. I couldn't stop crying. The pain is so bad, and the fear is worse. She held my hand and sang to me, the lullabies I used to sing to her when she was little. I don't know what I did to deserve a daughter like her. Meanwhile, David called today. He can't come visit until October because of some business trip to Singapore. He sounded irritated when I cried on the phone. "Mom, you have to stay positive," he said, as if positive thinking could cure cancer. He doesn't understand. Or maybe he doesn't want to. I flipped to another entry, March 2017. Had a long talk with Margaret about the house today. She doesn't want to talk about it. She says we have time, that we shouldn't worry about these things now. But I'm worried about what happens after I'm gone. David will swoop in and try to take everything. I know my son. He's not a bad person, but he's always been entitled. Always believed the world owed him something because he's smart and successful. He'll see this house as his due, his inheritance, his right. He won't see all the years Margaret sacrificed. He won't see how much she gave up. I need to protect her from him. And another, January 2018. Michael Thompson came by today to review the papers. Everything is settled. The house will be Margaret's. No questions, no loopholes. I had Dr. Morrison do the psychiatric evaluation, just like Michael suggested. I'm sharper than most people half my age, I told Dr. Morrison, and she laughed. Yes, Mrs. Mitchell, you certainly are. I made her put that in writing. When David contests this, and he will, there will be no doubt that I knew exactly what I was doing. This is my house. I bought it with Frank in 1968, with money we saved for 5 years. I raised my children here, buried my husband while still living here, and I'll die here. And I'm leaving it to the daughter who stayed. Last entry, March 2019, a week before she died. I'm ready to go now. The pain is too much. But I'm not afraid. I know Margaret will be okay. She's stronger than she knows. I just hope she finds happiness someday. Hope she stops sacrificing herself for everyone else and starts living for herself. She deserves the world, and she deserves this house. Let David be angry. He'll get over it, or he won't. Either way, it's my decision, and I'm making it with a clear mind and a full heart. Margaret Ann Mitchell, this house is yours. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for accepting it. I closed the journal. My face was wet with tears, but they weren't sad tears anymore. They were something else. Relief, maybe? Validation? Permission. Mom had known. She'd known David would do exactly this. She'd prepared for it. She'd documented everything. Left me a paper trail of truth, knowing I'd need it. I wasn't a thief. I wasn't a manipulator. I was a daughter who'd stayed, who'd loved, who'd sacrificed. And Mom had seen that and honored it in the only way she could. I put everything back in the box, but I kept the journal. I was going to need it. Then I went downstairs to my laptop and started making a plan. If David wanted a war, he'd get one. But it would be fought on my terms, with my evidence, and with the truth as my weapon. The next morning, I called Martha Coleman. It was 7 a.m. Early, but Martha was always awake early, baking bread or working in her garden. "I need your help," I said when she answered. "Say the word, honey." We met at her house, a tidy ranch 3 blocks from mine. Martha was 78, sharp as a tack, and had known my mother since they were both young mothers pushing strollers in the park. She'd been there for everything. Dad's death, Mom's illness, my lonely middle-aged existence. She'd also been the witness on the deed transfer and the psychiatric evaluation. "Tell me everything," she said, pouring coffee into mugs with faded floral patterns. I told her about the church incident, about the letter from the HOA, about the email from my cousin, about how David was systematically destroying my reputation while pretending to be the injured party. Martha listened, her lips pressed into a thin line. When I finished, she said, "That boy needs to be taken down a peg. I don't want revenge," I said. "I just want him to stop." Sometimes stopping someone requires showing them you can hurt them back. She stood up, went to her dining room, and came back with a folder. "Your mother gave me this, 2 weeks before she died. She said, if David ever tries to hurt Margaret, give her this. I've been waiting for you to be ready." I opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, but not Mom's, David's. "How did she—" "Your mother had access to David's account," Martha said. "She'd set it up years ago when he was in college and never closed it. He didn't know she could still see his transactions. She started keeping records about 5 years ago, when she realized what kind of man he'd become." I scanned the documents. Luxury purchases, expensive dinners, a boat. David owned a boat. Designer clothes, first-class plane tickets to Europe, Asia, Caribbean cruises. While Mom was dying, while I was maxing out credit cards to pay for her medications, David was spending money like water. "That's not all," Martha said. She pulled out another document. "This is a record of every call your mother made to David over the last 10 years. She noted the date, time, how long they talked, and what he said. I read through the notes. Hundreds of calls. Most lasted less than 5 minutes. Many went to voicemail. The notes were heartbreaking. Called to tell him about my diagnosis. Voicemail. He called back 3 days later. Asked if he could visit for Thanksgiving. Said he had plans with Karen's family. Promised Christmas. Didn't come for Christmas either. Told him I fell and hurt my hip. He said he'd send money for a cleaning service. Sent $200. Never called to check how I was. But that's still not the best part," Martha said, pulling out one more document. "This is David's will." "How do you have David's will?" "Your mother found it when she was visiting him in 2015. It was on his desk. She took a photo with her phone and printed it out. She said, 'I need to know what my son really thinks of me.'" I read the will. It was straightforward, professionally done. David's assets, and according to this document, he had considerable assets, over $2 million in investments, property, and savings, were to be divided as follows: 80% to Karen and Brandon, 20% to charitable organizations focused on technology education. There was no mention of Mom, no provision for her care, no inheritance designated for her. "He wrote this in 2014, I said, checking the date, before Mom even got sick. "That's right. He'd already decided she wasn't worth remembering in his will. Meanwhile, she was scraping by on Dad's pension, worrying about how to pay her property taxes, and David was sitting on $2 million. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Not anger exactly, more like clarity. "There's more," Martha said. "Your mother also did something very smart. She took out a life insurance policy in 2016, right after her diagnosis. She made you the beneficiary." "I know," I said. "That's where the funeral expenses came from. That's not the only policy." Martha slid another paper across the table. "This is a second policy. She paid for it with money from her savings, kept it completely separate. It's for $100,000 and it pays out to you. The insurance company didn't have your current address, so they've been trying to reach you through her attorney. Michael Thompson has been trying to call you, but I've been avoiding him," I admitted. "I couldn't deal with more legal stuff. Call him today. That money is yours. It's not part of the estate David can contest. It pays directly to you as the beneficiary. Your mother set it up specifically so you'd have something liquid, something you could use to fix the house, pay off your debts, or hire a lawyer if David got nasty. $100,000. I couldn't even process it. Why didn't she tell me? Because she knew you'd refuse it. She knew you'd say she should keep it for her care, or give it to David, or do something other than take care of yourself, so she did it quietly. She protected you the only way she could." I stared at the documents spread across Martha's kitchen table. My mother had built me an armor I didn't know I had. She'd gathered evidence, secured funds, created legal barriers, all while dying, all while in pain, all while I thought I was taking care of her. She'd been taking care of me. "There's one more thing," Martha said. "Your mother recorded a video. It's on a flash drive. She did it about a month before she died, when she was still lucid enough to speak clearly. She wanted you to have her story, in her own words, explaining her decisions. She thought you might need it someday." Martha handed me a small blue flash drive. "She loved you so much, Margaret, and she knew exactly what David would do. She prepared for this. Now it's time for you to use what she gave you." I left Martha's house with the folder, the flash drive, and a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. Maybe ever. David thought he held all the cards. He thought his money, his status, his polished public persona would win this battle. But Mom had given me something more powerful than money. The truth. Documented and irrefutable. And I was going to use it. I spent the next 3 days building my defense. Not just a legal defense. Michael Thompson had already told me the legal side was solid. No, I was building something more comprehensive. I was building a narrative, a complete picture of truth that would demolish David's story. First, I watched Mom's video. I sat alone in my living room at midnight, laptop open, lights off, and clicked play. Mom's face filled the screen. She was thin by then, her skin yellow from jaundice, her beautiful hair gone from chemo, but her eyes were clear and sharp. "Hello, sweetheart," she said, her voice weak but steady. "If you're watching this, I'm gone. And if I had to guess, David is making your life difficult. I'm sorry for that. I wish I'd raised him better, but some things are just in a person's nature, I suppose." She paused, took a breath. Even that seemed to hurt her. "I want you to know that everything I did with a sound mind and a full understanding of the consequences. I transferred the house to you in 2016 because you earned it. Not because you manipulated me, not because I was confused, but because you sacrificed your entire adult life to take care of me and your father. You gave up college, Robert, your career, your friends, everything. You gave up everything, and I couldn't let you walk away from this with nothing." Another pause. She wiped her eyes. "David will tell people I wasn't in my right mind. He'll say the medications made me confused. That's a lie. Yes, I was in pain. Yes, I was on medications. But I've always known exactly what I was doing. I had a psychiatric evaluation done specifically to prove this. I had witnesses. I had everything documented because I knew, Margaret, that David would fight this." She looked directly into the camera, and it felt like she was looking right at me. "He's my son and I love him, but he's selfish. He always has been. When he was a little boy, he'd take toys from other children and genuinely believe he deserved them more. As an adult, he's the same way. He sees this house as his right, his inheritance, his property, without ever considering that inheritance is something you earn through loyalty and presence, not just by being born." She coughed, long and painful. When she recovered, she continued, "You don't owe him anything. Not apologies, not guilt, not the house, nothing. I'm giving you permission right now to stand your ground. Fight for what's yours. Don't let him bully you. Don't let him shame you. And if he ever tries to paint you as the villain, show people this video. Let them see me, in my right mind, making my choice clearly." The video ended with her saying, "I love you, Margaret. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you." I watched it 3 more times that night, memorizing every word. Next, I organized all the documents Martha had given me. I created a timeline. 2014. David writes a will excluding Mom entirely while sitting on $2 million in assets. 2015. Mom visits David, discovers the will, begins documenting his behavior. 2016. Mom is diagnosed with cancer. David says he'll visit, doesn't come for 5 months. 2016. Mom transfers house to me, has psychiatric evaluation, everything legally proper. 2017 to 2019. David visits twice a year, average stay 2.5 days. Sends total of $3,000 in financial help. I spend approximately $47,000 on Mom's care beyond what insurance covers. I compiled phone records, email correspondence, credit card statements. I scanned every document, backed everything up on 3 separate drives, and sent copies to Michael Thompson. Then I did something I wasn't sure about but knew was necessary. I created a website. It was simple, just a single page. At the top, the truth about Eleanor Mitchell's estate. Below that, a brief statement. My name is Margaret Mitchell. I am the daughter of Eleanor Mitchell, who passed away in April 2019. Recently, my brother David Mitchell has been spreading false information about my mother's estate, accusing me of elder abuse and financial exploitation. This website exists to present the documented truth. Then I uploaded everything. The deed transfer with dates, the psychiatric evaluation, Mom's video, with her explicit permission from beyond the grave, since she'd recorded it for exactly this purpose. the journal entries, the timeline showing David's minimal involvement. Even David's will showing he'd excluded Mom from his own estate while demanding his share of hers. I didn't editorialize. I didn't add emotional commentary. I just presented facts, dates, documents, everything sourced, everything provable. At the bottom, I added, "These documents are available for review by any legitimate inquiry. The estate was handled legally and ethically. Elder abuse is a serious accusation. False accusations of elder abuse are also serious." I didn't publish the website yet. It sat on my laptop, ready to go live with one click. It was my insurance policy. Then I made a list of every person David had approached. Father Patrick, the HOA president, my cousin Jennifer, mutual friends, Mom's old colleagues. I drafted individual letters to each one. Not defensive letters, not emotional pleas, just calm, factual summaries with offers to meet in person and share documentation. "Dear Father Patrick," I wrote, "I understand David spoke to you and the congregation about concerns regarding my mother's estate. I respect his right to express his feelings. However, he presented an incomplete and inaccurate version of events. I would like to meet with you privately to share the actual documentation, including my mother's own words explaining her decisions. I believe you deserve to know the full truth before forming any judgment." I sent similar letters to everyone. Professional, calm, not accusing David of lying, just offering to provide more complete information. Finally, I prepared for the legal meeting. Michael Thompson had called 3 days after the church incident to tell me David had formally retained an attorney and was threatening to file a lawsuit contesting the deed transfer. "Let him try," Michael said. "But before this goes to court, they're required to attempt mediation. That meeting is scheduled for next Friday." "Are you ready?" "I'm ready," I said. "Bring everything, every document, every piece of evidence. We're going to bury them." The night before the mediation, I couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't from anxiety or fear. It was anticipation. I'd spent my entire life avoiding conflict, backing down, apologizing, trying to keep the peace. That Margaret would have walked into the mediation ready to negotiate, ready to give David half the house just to make it stop. But I wasn't that Margaret anymore. I was the Margaret who'd earned this house with 20 years of sacrifice. I was the Margaret whose mother had fought with her last breaths to protect. I was the Margaret who had nothing left to lose and the truth on her side. David wanted a fight. He was about to get one. The mediation was held at Thompson & Associates conference room downtown Cleveland. Modern building, glass and steel. I arrived early with Michael Thompson, carrying 3 binders of documentation. David was already there with his attorney, Jeffrey Caldwell from some big San Diego firm. Karen sat beside him, looking supportive. The mediator, Patricia Delgado, explained the process. "Mr. Caldwell, please present your client's position." Caldwell opened his briefcase. "My client, David Mitchell, is here because of a grave injustice. In 2016, while his mother Eleanor Mitchell was suffering from terminal cancer and undergoing chemotherapy, the respondent manipulated her into signing over the family home, valued at $525,000, solely to herself." He slid documents across the table. "These are Mrs. Mitchell's medical records, showing the medications she was on. Oxycodone, lorazepam, ondansetron. These drugs have documented cognitive side effects." "The transfer was legal," Michael interjected. "There was a psychiatric evaluation, arranged by the respondent," Caldwell interrupted. "With a doctor chosen by the respondent." David leaned forward. "I just want what's fair. This house should have been split between us. Instead, Margaret did everything in secret while I was across the country." Karen dabbed at her eyes. "We're not wealthy people. That house represents security for our family too." I stayed quiet, as Michael had coached me. "What is your client seeking?" Ms. Delgado asked. "We're asking for one of 3 resolutions. First, the deed transfer is voided, and the house returned to the estate, divided 50-50. Second, the house is sold, and proceeds divided equally. Third, Ms. Mitchell pays Mr. Mitchell $262,500, half the appraised value." Ms. Delgado turned to me. "Ms. Mitchell, your response?" I looked at David, my brother, who'd pulled my hair as a kid and taught me to ride a bike. My brother who'd moved away and barely called. "No," I said simply. "No?" Caldwell looked surprised. "No, I'm not voiding the transfer. I'm not selling the house. And I'm certainly not paying David $262,500 for a house Mom legally gave to me. Margaret, David said, using his older brother tone, be reasonable. This is family. You're right. It is family. So let me tell you about family. I nodded to Michael, who opened the first binder. This is a timeline of your involvement in Mom's care over the last 10 years. You visited twice a year, average. Your longest stay was 4 days. You sent $3,000 total over 3 years. I spent $47,000 out of pocket. I slid documents across the table. David's face flushed. I called you 37 times asking for help. You answered 9 times. I have the phone records. This, I said, pulling out the flash drive, is a video of Eleanor Mitchell, made 1 month before her death, explaining why she transferred the house to me. I plugged it into the presentation system. Mom's face appeared, her voice filling the room. David went pale watching it. When the video ended, silence filled the room. That woman was clearly of sound mind, Ms. Delgado said quietly. This is the psychiatric evaluation by Dr. Rebecca Morrison, an independent psychiatrist. Dr. Morrison certified Mom was fully competent and is available to testify. I read from Mom's journal. David called today. He can't visit for Christmas because flights are too expensive. I saw on Facebook he's going skiing in Aspen next week. David's face was crimson. That's not fair. Am I? I pulled out the final document. This is your will, David, dated 2014, where you left everything to Karen and Brandon and charities, but nothing to Mom. While she was struggling on Dad's pension, you had $2 million in assets and wrote her out entirely. The room went silent. You want to talk about family obligation? Mom knew what kind of son you were. That's why she made sure there wasn't an inheritance for you. This is... David stood up, his chair scraping. You had no right to go through my personal documents. Mom found it when she visited you in 2015. You left it on your desk. She took a photo because she wanted to know where she stood in your priorities. Turns out she didn't stand anywhere at all. Karen was crying. Caldwell cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a break. No, David said. You want to know why I didn't come home more? Because every time I did, it was guilt and obligation and judgment. I never asked for your gratitude. I interrupted, standing. But I'm not going to let you rewrite history. You chose not to come home. You chose not to help. Those were your choices, David. Own them. That house should be mine. I'm the oldest. The house belongs to the person Mom wanted to have it. And she made that choice clearly and legally. It's done. Misao, Delgado looked between us. I don't think we're reaching a resolution today. No, I agreed. We're not. The house is mine. If David wants to sue me, he can. But he'll lose. And he'll spend tens of thousands to lose. Or he can accept reality. I packed up my binders. Michael was smiling slightly. Margaret, David said as I reached the door. His voice was quieter. I'm your brother. I turned back. You were my brother, but you haven't acted like it in a very long time. We're done here. I walked out into the Cleveland sunshine. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from power, from finally standing up for myself. Michael caught up with me on the sidewalk. That was one of the most effective mediations I've ever seen. They're not going to sue. Good, I said, because I'm done fighting. 3 months after the mediation, I received an email from David. Just one line. You win. No apology. No acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Just 2 words admitting defeat. I deleted the email and never responded. Caldwell had called Michael the week after the mediation to officially withdraw any contest to the estate. My client has decided to accept the estate distribution as executed, he said in formal legal language that meant David had given up. The church incident had a resolution too. After I sent the letters to Father Patrick and other congregation members, several people reached out to apologize. Mrs. Henderson brought me a casserole and cried on my doorstep. I should never have doubted you, she said. I knew your mother. I knew you. I should have trusted what I knew instead of what I heard. Father Patrick invited me to his office for coffee. I showed him Mom's video and the timeline of events. He watched and listened in silence, then said, I owe you an apology. I should have asked for your side before allowing David to use our congregation that way. It won't happen again. I returned to church the following Sunday. When I walked in, Martha stood and started clapping. Slowly, others joined. It wasn't a standing ovation. This was Cleveland. We're not that dramatic. But it was acknowledgement. recognition. An unspoken apology from people who doubted me. The website I'd created, I never published it. I didn't need to. The threat of it was enough. And once David withdrew his contest, there was no reason to air our family's dirty laundry publicly. I kept it as a backup, but I hope I never have to use it. The life insurance policy Martha told me about, the $100,000, was real. I received the check in July 2019. The first thing I did was pay off all my credit cards and the personal loan. The second thing I did was pay for proper repairs to the house. New paint, new roof, professional landscaping. The house on Maple Street looked beautiful again, the way Mom would have wanted. With what was left, about $60,000 after all debts and repairs, I did something I never thought I'd do. I enrolled in online classes to finish my nursing degree. At 47, I'm going back to school. It'll take me 3 years going part-time while working, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to become an RN, maybe even eventually a nurse practitioner. It's not too late. I also started dating. Nothing serious yet, but I joined a book club and met a man named Thomas, a widower who works as a high school teacher. We've had coffee 3 times and dinner once. He's kind and patient and doesn't mind that I live in my childhood home. It's practical, he said, and it means you cared about your family. That's not something to be ashamed of. The house itself feels different now. For months after Mom died, it felt haunted, not by her ghost, but by my own sadness and guilt. Now it just feels like home, my home. I've rearranged furniture, painted the spare bedroom a cheerful yellow, planted flowers in Mom's garden. I'm making it mine while still honoring her memory. I converted Mom's room into a home office where I study for my classes. Her pictures still hang on the walls, but I've added my own things. My books, my laptop, a vision board with goals for the future. It's a blend of past and present, grief and hope. I think about Mom every day. I talk to her sometimes, out loud, when I'm alone in the house. I'm doing it, Mom, I said last month after receiving an A on my anatomy exam. I'm really doing it. I swear I could feel her pride, could imagine her smile. I don't think about David much anymore. Not with anger, not with sadness, just with a kind of distant recognition that some relationships are meant to end. Maybe someday we'll reconcile. Maybe Brandon will reach out when he's older and wants to know his aunt's side of the story. Maybe not. Either way, I'm at peace with it. What I learned through all of this is something I should have known all along. Sacrifice is only noble if you value it yourself. For years, I sacrificed without recognizing what I was giving up, without honoring my own choices, without demanding respect for my own path. I let other people, David, my friends, society, define success and happiness in ways that made me feel like a failure. But I wasn't a failure. I was exactly where I chose to be, doing exactly what I believed was right. The only mistake I made was apologizing for it. Mom knew that. That's why she gave me the house. Not as payment, not as compensation, but as recognition. You chose this life, she seemed to be saying. You chose loyalty and love and presence. Those choices have value. This house is proof of that value. I drive past David's old bedroom sometimes. It's mine now, converted into a guest room that no one's used yet. And I think about the boy who used to live there. The boy who'd share his Halloween candy with me. 50-50. No cheating. The teenager who drove me to school when it rained. The young man who called me from Stanford, homesick and scared, and I told him he was going to be fine. That person existed. I didn't imagine him. But somewhere between childhood and middle age, that person became someone else. Someone who could look at his dying mother and calculate inheritance. Someone who could accuse his sister of theft while sitting on millions of dollars. Someone who could lie in a church to turn people against family. I mourn that lost person sometimes. The brother I thought I had. But I don't waste too much time on it. Life is too short, and I've already spent too many years putting other people's happiness ahead of my own. Last week I had dinner with Martha. We cooked together in my kitchen, making Mom's pot roast recipe. The smell filled the house, warm and familiar, and for the first time since she died, it didn't make me cry. It made me smile. Your mother would be proud of you, Martha said, watching me at the stove. I hope so. I know so. She told me once near the end, I'm not worried about Margaret. She's stronger than she knows. It'll take her a while to figure that out. But once she does, watch out. The world better be ready. I laughed. She said that? Word for word. And she was right, wasn't she? I looked around my kitchen, at the walls I'd painted, at the window over the sink where I'd watched seasons change for 47 years, at the table where I'd eaten thousands of meals with the people I loved. This house wasn't a prison or a burden or proof of failure. It was a foundation. It was home. Yeah, I said. She was right. That night, after Martha left, I sat on the front porch with a cup of tea and watched the sun set over Maple Street. Kids were playing in yards. People were walking dogs. Neighbors were chatting over fences. Life, continuing, ordinary, and beautiful. My phone buzzed. A text from Thomas asking if I wanted to see a movie this weekend. I said yes. Tomorrow I had a shift at Greenwood, then a study session for my pharmacology class. Next month, I had a dentist appointment and a meeting with a financial advisor to discuss retirement planning, something I'd never done before because there was never enough money to plan with. But now there was. Not a lot, but enough. Enough to build something. Enough to have a future that looked different from my past. Enough to make choices for myself instead of always for someone else. I'm 47 years old. I'm single, living in my childhood home, working as an LPN while studying to be an RN. On paper, my life might not look successful. No husband, no kids, no fancy career or retirement fund or passport full of stamps. But I'm here. I'm standing on ground I earned, living in a house I inherited through love, not just blood. I'm building a future on my own terms. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough. More than enough. It feels like victory. I finished my tea, locked the door, and went to bed. Tomorrow was a new day, and I was ready for it.